Hey everybody, Black Ninja 797 here, and welcome back to another video, guys. In today's video, this is going to be another episode of Left 4 Dead 2 What If. For those of you guys that are new to the channel, I just want to say, first of all, welcome. I hope you guys end up enjoying today's video. And second of all, when it comes to this series, I will explain it really quickly, basically what it's all about. Is essentially very similar to the Marvel What If series, where basically we're going to be taking elements from Left 4 Dead and changing their endings or their canon, so that way we can end up looking at all the different outcomes within the story, so that way we can be able to just simply ask the question of what if. We will look at icebergs, theories, hell, we might even look at conspiracy theories if we eventually get there. But yeah guys, for today's episode, the topic that I want to talk about is, what if that in Left 4 Dead, they found a cure? What if Ceda or the military found a cure for the green flu in Left 4 Dead? That is going to be something that is pretty out there, but however though, that's the whole entire idea about the series. We're taking stuff even if it's outlandish, and we're just rolling with it and just asking the question of, what if? So yeah guys, let's begin with today's episode. If you guys have been enjoying today's video, please drop a like, and let's get on with today's episode, guys. Alrighty, so when it comes to the green flu in Left 4 Dead, we need to discuss it really quickly first to see what we're working with. So for those of you guys that have not read the Left 4 Dead 2 comics, I will basically give you a brief summary of essentially how the green flu works, because they touched up on it in the Sacrifice comics. So basically within the Left 4 Dead comics, they talked about how that the green flu is essentially always ever changing. Is never set in stone. That's why it's almost literally impossible for any of the scientists to come up with cures, is because they can't make a cure on something that technically doesn't really exist anymore. You know, it's based off of a prior version, which is technically not really even there anymore. It's always ever changing. It's essentially like how the normal flu works. We have our normal vaccines for the flu based off the prior flu, because it's also ever changing. It's just not on a zombie scale. So yeah, it's just that the problem is that since it's always ever changing, it's basically impossible to make a cure for it. It's sometimes done by land, sea, air. It's done by breathing sometimes, touch, blood, any other bodily fluid that you can think of. Basically anything, it's essentially going to give it to you. So the only way you can really avoid it is that if you were immune, because that's why the Left 4 Dead survivors usually end up killing people indirectly, is because since it's ever changing, they can't even really stop it from spreading. So like for example, if the Left 4 Dead survivors were, like, all of a sudden, you know, making so that way if they touch things they could spread to people, they would end up screwing themselves over, because before last week it was that they can't cough on people, so you know what I mean? So it's pretty severe. So if we're going to end up having this end up being something that can even remotely have a cure, it basically has to be a all-purpose cure. And technically those don't exist, but for the sake of continuity and just the flow of the video, I'm just going to make it up just for fun. So let's say that Ceda or the military end up coming up with a cure, right? They end up making a cure, and now you end up having a new problem that you have to tackle. And it's going to be, how are you going to even distribute the said cure? Because all the zombies in Left 4 Dead, they're all completely different. You have big hulking bicep tanks to sharp as hell Wolverine claw witches to, you know, normal zombies. You know, you can end up having an average zombie, or you might get something that will completely destroy you and you won't even know. And the problem is with that is that, how do you capture these things? Because we all know that within the Left 4 Dead storyline, it basically took like several weeks just to catch basically a boomer. That's why really that we only end up having any info on the boomer of all the special infectors, because it's really the easiest to capture. That's as far as Ceda was able to get. That's why we have boomer biles, and that's why you also have a lot of the boomer lore within the Ceda stuff. Now, when it comes to the tanks and the witches, those will probably be the two hardest to get, just solely because of how overpowered they are. Basically, they're insta-kills. And we all know that from the comics that they literally are insta-kills. Like, normal infected, like just the common zombies and like things like the hunter and the jockey, that eradicated the two stray military survivors that were in the comic. They like immediately got annihilated, and they're freaking military, bro. They're freaking military. It's ridiculous. So you can't end up like just treating them lightly. You need to figure out how you can properly cure people. So you probably would have to work your way up. It would probably be commons, so that way we can just end up getting more people in general, guys. We would need more people helping us out. We would need more people to end up trying to even remotely help us out, because it's a strength in numbers thing at the end of the day, right? You would have to rehabilitate people, and you have to get them out there, yes. And trying to end up curing people just to also send them back into battle would be kind of cold. But it would be probably something that you would end up seeing the military do, considering how they are in Left 4 Dead. But also, after that would be uncommon infected, so this would be like the fallen survivor, the clown, the ex-military zombies, like the riot gear ones and stuff like that, because they probably would end up having a backstory or a way to help us out because of their prior training. Because I'm just assuming that we're gonna go movie logic here, where if it's a cure for everything, their mind, their body, everything, and basically they essentially revert completely back to normal. Because trying to end up including things like memory wipes and all that stuff, I feel that would even be more complicated. I mean, it already is a complicated thing to talk about, because I already think that zombie cures in movies and stuff like that is BS, because obviously you're trying to essentially be Frankenstein and reanimate a corpse, and obviously that's not going to get far. So, in my opinion, let's just say, for the sake, once again, of continuity, that it reverts to everything the way that you were before you got turned. Now, you also got to keep in mind is that, other than trying to administer the cure, we need to now think about the third thing. And this is probably going to be the most important, is that who is going to end up coming up with the cure in the first place, because we need to figure out if the cure is even going to be distributed, because somebody might try to use the cure to end up basically being like a dictator of some kind. Somebody might try to hold the cure and use it for like ransom, money, power, anything. Basically would become like, an evil scientist. And in my humble opinion, I definitely think that out of all the people to do this, it probably would be the military, just because that out of all the things we have to go off of, we all know that they're not good people. Would they end up being the ones that would make it? Not necessarily. I personally think rather that if Ceda was still around, like to actually full-on make a cure, they would probably be the ones to do it. And Ceda, since they work technically with the military, or at least have ties to the military would somehow get their hands on it eventually, which would lead into them basically holding on to it and using it for their evil purposes. Most notably is I think that they would just use it to basically get a upper hand over other countries, because, and I'm saying this as an American, keep that in mind, is that I'm just saying this as a joke, but I'm also saying this half serious, is that, of course, whatever country you're from, it doesn't necessarily have to be America, but just me as a American, I'm not going to try to sound mean, I'm actually just going to only tease my own country, because I think that's the only appropriate thing to do. But if it was America, because it takes place in America for the Left 4 Dead storyline, or just any country in general, whatever country comes up with the cure, they're going to want to end up using it for their agenda first. Whether it would be for, curing their people first, using it so that way they can stay as superpower first, and just based off of, like I said, once again, reiterating at the military and Left 4 Dead, they don't seem like nice people, they would definitely do this. I can most certainly see themselves trying to say, hey, you know what, we got this cure, why don't we do something with it? Why don't we try to end up being, like, the only country that's still standing, and just try to, like, get some upper hands for a while? Like, nobody's really gonna miss anybody. We can always just revert them back later, which is a really evil, sly thing to do, and it's really not a good thing. And I feel like that if the Left 4 Dead 1 survivors, because, they were eventually involved with the military at one point, were ever involved into this, it would probably be something that they would try to stop. Because I could only figure that the cure in the first place would probably come from someone with immunity such as the Left 4 Dead 1 crew. Because literally the only thing that they have to work with is the Left 4 Dead 1 crew. Or just anybody with immunity in general. We all know that the government, the military, where they were trying to get stuff out of the Left 4 Dead 1 crew when they initially captured them. They wanted to see if they could test on them. They wanted to see if they could end up using their, their bodies for some sort of anti-serum. But that is just personally what I believe. You can let me know whether or not you agree with this in the comment section down below. But yeah, let's just hope that the immunity that they end up getting is from somebody that doesn't end up having to be hurt or killed in the process. Because I feel like that if someone died trying to get a cure, the military would just shrug it off. They'd be like, oh, that's one less person we gotta deal with now. No one's going to miss this. They're going to care more about a cure, and they're going to not really care about lives, which is very concerning, but I feel like that's the truth. So now the last thing, I feel like this is the most crucial thing of all, is that when it comes to the cure, or in this case just the, the anti-serum, whatever you want to call it, the interchangeable words for basically stopping the zombies, is it going to be more rather a cure, or is it going to be more rather a immunity? Now, in my humble opinion, I feel like you're more likely to get a immunity than a cure. Now, I know that that doesn't exactly match the title of the video, although trying to end up putting immunity in the title, I feel like wouldn't like exactly click as well as cure, because most people that they immediately know like what cure is, like just the word like glancing at it, but trying to describe immunity, especially with the Left 4 Dead one, it kind of wouldn't make a lot of sense at first. But let's just think about it for a sec, guys. It's probably going to be more likely an immunity. I mean, let's be honest, because we know it exists. Left 4 Dead 1 and 2 crews already have it, so we've seen it before our very eyes, and they can survive anything. I know that also, yes, keep in mind that's a video game, and of course they're going to make it so that way they're, you know, invulnerable to certain things, so that way it makes the game flow better. But if we're going to be taking the gameplay as basically canon, they survive literally everything. They can survive being knocked down by the witch, they can survive being beaten on by the tank, and even at the highest of difficulties, like let's say that the cannon is based off of expert, the witch will kill you if it ends up getting you, but everything else, it's only either knockdown or just really high damage. And these people, these other survivors, just being near the, you know, the Left 4 Dead 1 crew or Left 4 Dead 2 crew, they just die by literally breathing the same air. So I think that they actually are a lot better off, and it is still a pretty big advantage. And we have to account for the fact that when it comes to this game, we don't really expect, to be honest, that there's going to be a cure. I mean, Zoe believed in that for a while, Bill believed in that for a while, and, you know, everyone believed in that for a while. But eventually, we all kind of like just got desensitized and everyone just gives up. It's just kind of like that initial denial stage. I just know, just straight off the rip, that it would probably end up happening to everybody, even me. I mean, I already said myself that I would never believe in a cure, but I think initially, of course, I would believe in a cure. I mean, hell, like, we didn't know about the status of the whole entire, you know, the whole entire, I can't say the word because of demonetization reasons, but you know exactly what I mean, the whole entire thing. The last 2 years, we all didn't know what that was going to be like, and, you know, it took a while to get a vaccine for that. So it's just the initial not knowing half, and I think that eventually that would catch on to the survivors, that would eventually catch on to the military, and they would probably just try to work with an immunity, because immunity, that can be more realistic than trying to just bring back someone to life from being a mutated dead corpse. Because really, if you think about it, what would happen to the special infected they reverted back? Like, does that also account for, like, the witch's long nails? Would the witch just come back as a human and she would have, like, really long Wolverine claws? Would the tank just be this swollen, steroid-using junkie dude? Would the jockey have his, like, screwed-up Igor back? You know what I mean? Like, what is exactly going to be reverted altogether? You know what I mean? I've said everything, but you gotta think about it, is that, like, everything means everything within the original status of what the person once was. And a lot of the special infected are based off the old habits of the people when they were humans. So, for example, smokers were probably smokers. The jockey was probably someone that had a lot of, like, brain problems. Like, you know, maybe, for example, they had, like, dementia or some sort of psychotic issues because of, like, you know, the psycho laugh. The tank probably was a guy that used steroids. The witch probably had depression, etc., etc., etc. So it's only going to go back within reason. And that's going to be a whole nother can of worms, so I'm just going to stay away from that personally. But there's a lot of things we can go over, and I've already discussed quite a lot of things. So now I'm just going to end up leaving this to you guys. In my opinion, I think that this is most likely just going to end up being a immunity thing, probably from a survivor group that already has it, like the Left 4 Dead 1 or 2 crews. And it's probably most likely, and I haven't said this yet, probably is going to come from the dad's side. Probably like the Y, you know, gene that comes from the dad, because we all know that that's where it derives from. You know, the immunity comes from the dad's side. That's why a lot of people have said before in the past that Zoe could have actually probably had her dad live if she didn't kill him, because of the fact that he was probably going to be a carrier himself. Which in turn would probably mean that a lot of the test subjects, or a lot of the people that would probably be immune, would be more likely to be dudes. So that probably means that, unfortunately, women would have a harder time being immune because of the lack of the chromosome. But at the end of the day, it's just a theory. A game theory. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to imitate Matt Pat. I'm just only doing that as a joke. But yeah, guys, I'm serious. Just that's basically the end. There's really nothing to go off of other than just speculation, just because this is kind of one of the hardest things to do, because it's never been set in stone. It probably is never going to be set in stone. But however, though, that does give us the most amount of stuff to work with, because we're only end up just going off of our imagination at the end of the day. So let me know, guys, in the comment section down below what you think. Do you think that the cure would be possible? Do you think that the immunity is more likely possible? Do you think that it would be taken from a crew that was immune? And if so, do you think it would be mostly from the guys because of, the Y chromosome? I'm just curious. Please let me know in the comment section down below. But anyways, guys, this is going to be here for today's video. I do truly hope you guys ended up enjoying, and if you did, please consider dropping a like, comment, and subscribe to show your guys' support. If you'd like to financially support the channel, I would tremendously appreciate if you guys could go check out my Patreon. It's always linked down below in all my YouTube video descriptions, or you guys could use supporter creator code BlackNinja797 in all caps in the Fortnite Epic Games item shops, because Epic is my very first sponsor, and they are sponsoring today's video, so shout out to Epic Games. But yeah, guys, I hope you ended up enjoying seeing another YouTube video from the most unique YouTuber you guys are ever going to see. Thank you for watching, guys. I love you, and peace out.
Hey, meme lords. Jesus here. And you better have enjoyed that video there by the eternal god Daddy Ninja. You should probably subscribe too, or the mighty Moab will come for your balls. If you enjoyed the video, you might like it too. And give me the memes. Flash, bang, boom!